This video was brought to you by my generous Patreon supporters. Join today to help keep Classy Whale on the air. A few weeks ago, I set out to compare 4 of the Northeast's most affordable intercity bus companies to see which was the least terrible to ride. Megabus, Lucky Star, OurBus, and Wanda Coach would go head-to-head on a 900-mile journey across the Northeast, from Pittsburgh to Boston to Philadelphia, filled with interesting side quests and fraught with the occasional snag.
Clock is striking 11. The bus is on the other side of the station.
The end goal of all this was to visit my girlfriend Kalkidan in Boston.
Rip.
But there was a twist. She had no idea I was coming. My first leg was an overnight Megabus trip from Pittsburgh to New York. This route cost $90 when booked an hour in advance. Like many of the bus companies I'd be riding on this trip, Megabus doesn't use city bus terminals, and instead relies on curbside pickup. Here in Pittsburgh, they use the entrance to the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. I live only 2 miles away from there in Oakland, but since 4 of the main Oakland buses don't go downtown anymore, I stood in the pouring rain for over 10 minutes before my 82 bus came.
My Megabus is in 8 minutes. It takes 4 minutes to walk there, so cutting it really close. I want to run to the bus, but it's really wet, so I'm afraid that I'm going to slip and fall.
Thankfully, I made it with a few minutes to spare, and I hopped on board our double-decker coach bus. Megabus began life in the United Kingdom before expanding here, and it's fairly unique for operating these lofty and capacious coaches. The ceiling on the second deck was very low, but it came with skylight windows, and front row passengers could see straight out the front of the bus. There were also lighting and air controls, plus a stop request button for some reason, and wall-style chargers were available at each seat, though these unfortunately did not work on this bus. As we pulled out of the convention center and onto Route 376, I learned something about our driver. He was very, very into his microphone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Second flight of steps or the steps you'll be using throughout the duration of this trip. That door is heavier than it looks. You, as much as I am responsible for taking care of the restroom, no connections and no extensions whatsoever.
My seat on board wasn't the most comfortable, and it didn't have particularly noteworthy legroom or recline, but the whole bus felt very clean, and soon I was drifting off to sleep. The first stop, in State College, came about 3 hours later.
That is the rules. It's printed down. It's on the website. 135 different languages and dialects, so it doesn't mean you don't understand. You just didn't bother to read the small print.
The driver thinks you didn't do your research. As we left, we were caught in heavy rain, which would have helped put me to sleep, but the roof was leaking right over my seat. We'd passed the rain by the time we stopped at a Love's Travel Plaza in Mifflinville, Pennsylvania. Megabus trips usually stop here for about half an hour, which is enough time to order a breakfast sandwich from the neighboring OurBus. Then I fell fast asleep until we were nearing our destination of New York. Before we arrived at our stop, I stepped into the bathroom. This was surprisingly clean and organized, but I was a little tall for it, and the automatic lights shut off really easily.
New York City, ladies and gentlemen, end of the line.
This section of 34th Street and Hudson Yards serves as Megabus's makeshift terminal, with services to Pittsburgh, Philly, and points south. We'd arrived around 5:50, so the sun had yet to rise, and the towers of Midtown's west side looked amazing in the foggy early morning.
So now I need to head on down to Chinatown. Tell me if you get that reference.
My next bus would be a Lucky Star from Manhattan's Chinatown to Boston South Station, so I headed to the subway to cross Manhattan. I'll be ranking all of my bus trips at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that.
So we're going to start here at Hudson Yards, travel over here, make a transfer. I'm not entirely sure how this works, but we'll figure it out. And then ride the B or D trains down to Grand Street. And that's where we'll catch the Lucky Star. So as far as I know, Kalkidan has no idea that I'm on my way to see her. I called her last night like I usually do, but I told her I was really tired and I didn't want to talk, whereas in fact I was waiting for the bus to take me to the Megabus. And I hope she doesn't have plans today, because that is one downside of a surprise visit.
I had some time to kill in Chinatown, so I decided to get a traditional Chinese breakfast. But there was a problem.
I can't believe I forgot the cardinal rule of Chinatown. Always bring cash to Chinatown.
This didn't end up being a huge issue, as there was an ATM a few blocks away. Along the way, I got to see more of this neighborhood, which is always a plus.
Here I am in this city with a fistful of dollars.
Lucky Star is a Chinatown bus line, one of several companies that provide cheap bus fares between Chinatowns in the Northeast. In the past, there were more of these with cheaper fares, but a series of incidents and accidents prompted stricter government regulation. Let me know if you'd like a history video about all that. Today, Chinatown's buses are a bit safer, if less numerous. Lucky Star has curbside pickup on the street, but unlike Megabus, they also have an actual waiting area, with snacks, drinks, restrooms, plenty of seating, in-person ticketing, and printed signage everywhere. I enjoyed my thick rice noodles and congee porridge as I waited for the bus, and tried to ignore how dirty the floor was. Soon the bus arrived. The inside was a fair bit cleaner than the station, with imitation wood floors and plush blue seats. Without a word, our driver took off, taking us through Chinatown, across to Brooklyn, and through the western bit of Long Island. As a small-town kid, I'll never not be impressed with how big and varied New York City is. It took a full half hour just to leave the city's borders. After that, we followed Interstate 95 along the coast. Lucky Star's primary route is between Manhattan's Chinatown and Boston South Station, which is located just steps away from Chinatown, Boston. Today's route cost me $50 when booked the previous night through Flixbus. We were quite possibly going faster than the Acela here, since this section of the Northeast Corridor is Metro North territory. Soon, we were circling through Bridgeport, the largest city in Connecticut, and arriving in New Haven, the second largest.
Wait, is this the first time I've gone to New Haven and done all my research? What's happening to me?
From here, we turned inland and followed Route 91 before reaching a rest stop.
So the driver didn't say how long we're gonna be here at the rest stop. That was a little confusing. I feel like I went from over-communication on the last bus to under-communication on this bus, but we shall see.
We got back on the highway and passed Hartford. After that, the highway was pretty much a canal through the trees the whole way from there to Boston.
Okay, big brain move. I asked my girlfriend if she will do a virtual date afternoon with me, not knowing that this will not be virtual. And we are here in Boston South Station, a full 50 minutes ahead of the scheduled 1 o'clock arrival time. That means I can catch a sooner train to see Kalkidan. Okay, update. Hopefully I'll get to Kalkidan's house before next Tuesday. The trains aren't actually tracking. It's just saying every 12 to 16 minutes. This is sad. And just after I said that, it changed to Alewife 2 minutes and then Alewife 1 minute by the time I got my camera out.
So as not to dox my beloved girlfriend, I'll jump ahead to her house.
I forget which house is hers, so I sent her a message with me in front of the three of them. She should be running outside any second.
Are you serious? Are you serious? What the heck? No! No!
Hello!
I am very happy that Caleb came to visit me today, and I just came out running, and I saw him and I was like, no way, like, you know, you said you'd visit another time, but like, yeah.
At this point, I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. You helped me see my long-distance girlfriend, you helped me ride the buses to get there, and you do a huge part in keeping this channel alive. I'm eyeing a UK series next year, featuring the namesake cities of the Northeast Corridor, the Isle of Man, and other trains. So if you're a longtime viewer who would like to see that happen, consider joining or making a one-time donation to the project. Links for both in the description. Now, on to the next day and the next bus.
A little behind the scenes of Classy Whale here.
Let me see.
So I caught the commuter rail from Kalkidan's house to here at North Station, but my bus to New York is not actually boarding from Boston. It's boarding in Quincy. So the fastest way there is by commuter rail, but that train leaves from South Station. I have less than half an hour to make the connection, and while the team might be able to do it, it is a little risky given how slow everything is. So it's time to be reunited with an old friend. It's been a while. All right, we made it to South Station with 6 minutes to spare. My legs are really sore and I'm out of breath, but we're on time, and now we're gonna catch the Middleborough-Lakeville line down to Quincy. Update, the Middleborough-Lakeville line is being bustituted. So 4 minutes to go, catch the Yankee Clipper, and hopefully we will be on time. I was told the first bus in this row of Yankee Clippers was the Middleborough Lakeville line. Never been on a Yankee Clipper before, so I was told this bus is not going to Quincy. Okay, so here's the situation. I went to South Station because Google told me that there would be a Middleborough Lakeville line train at 10:35 that would get me to Quincy at 10:50. When I got to the station, the sign said that it was being bustituted, and a station agent said to come out to this row of Yankee Clippers over here. When I asked the driver of like the third Yankee Clipper back, he said the bus to Quincy was the first bus, but when I asked the driver of the first bus, he said the bus didn't go to Quincy, that there was no bus to Quincy, I needed to take the train. But if I took the red line, I would miss my OurBus. So I'm taking an Uber, and it's gonna get to Quincy at 10:58, and my bus is at 11. So I have a 2-minute connection. Oh, this is getting exciting. I'm sure you guys are enjoying the content. Okay, I am at Quincy Center, and I don't see an OurBus. Clock is striking 11. The bus is on the other side of the station. If I'm lucky, I'll make it. There it is, there it is, there it is.
OurBus is an unusual company in that it doesn't own its own buses. Rather, it creates routes around the Northeast based on crowdsourcing and popular demand, then charters buses to run them. Our OurBus was a former Chinatown bus, with comfortable, older-style seats, plenty of recline, chunky TV screens, and carpet on the ceiling for some reason. Please tell me if you know why this was ever a thing. The only charging ports available were ceiling-mounted USB and USB-C plugs, and one could see wires dangling from above all over the bus. This Sunday morning trip was just $19 booked a day and a half in advance, and it was a pleasant ride, at least other than the stench wafting out of the bathroom every time someone opened the door. Unlike Lucky Star, which was a non-stop trip, this bus would be making a few stops. Our first was in Providence, where we picked up a large crowd of passengers outside a hotel. It was here I had the lunch that Kalkidan packed for me. Thank you for that, my love. Then we were back on the monotonously tree-lined highway, heading south and west until we passed over the Thames River and made our second stop in New London. This would be our final stop before New York. As trees gave way to Connecticut coastal communities, I enjoyed some reading and plugged in a few more cables. Then we were traveling down through the Bronx and onto Long Island, ready to swing around to Manhattan. It was about time. Due to heavy traffic, we were running late, and I was worried I wouldn't be able to catch my final bus. And at this point, I had my worst experience of the entire trip. I decided to use the bathroom on the OurBus. The door latch took forever to figure out. The light would only turn on if you physically held the lock shut, and there was no toilet paper, sink, or hand sanitizer. Oh, and the place was dirty and smelly as well. I literally rage quit and went back to my seat, still bursting to go. I genuinely don't know how that thing was legal. Like on Lucky Star, our driver barely said anything to us. So when I emerged from the bathroom to find a Manhattan waterfront out the window, I figured we had made it to my ticketed stop on the west side. But as anyone from New York could easily tell you, I was completely disoriented.
So the bus is back there, and it just dropped me off. And I thought this was the stop on my ticket because this looks like the area where it was gonna drop off. That's Jersey City, right? No, that's Long Island. The bus actually has a stop on the east side, and then I think it goes over to the west side, but the driver didn't really communicate that. So that was not helpful. I now actually have enough time to catch my final bus for this video. I'm gonna be riding Wanda Coach from here in New York down to Philadelphia. Now Wanda Coach, like Lucky Star earlier, boards from Chinatown, and I'm up here in Midtown. I'm right near the Chrysler building. In fact, you can look straight up at it. So I need to take the 6 train to get down there.
Wanda Coach is another Chinatown bus company with a large presence in Manhattan. They actually cover most of the East Coast, with services ranging from Boston to Alabama. Wanda Coach has its own waiting room and ticket office in Chinatown, but due to its larger size, there are pickup points for buses all over the neighborhood. After visiting the ticket office to get this footage, I found the address on my ticket, which turned out to be a travel agency a few blocks away. When I got there, they told me to wait for my bus at the next intersection. I joined a large curbside crowd just before the scheduled boarding time, and for 15 minutes, we watched nondescript, unmarked coach buses circle around us, until finally our rather late bus pulled up. My ticket from here to Philadelphia cost me $20, booked a day in advance. This was, without a doubt, the nastiest coach bus I'd ever ridden. The interior reeked of cigarettes, there was graffiti on the old TV monitors, the windows were smudgy, and after taking one look in the horrendously smelly, graffitied, and unkept bathroom, I didn't dare set foot in it. I'll leave its appearance up to your imagination. At least the seat's recline was good, and there were more USB charging ports in the ceiling, though without the USB-C option this time. We made our way to the Holland Tunnel and passed into New Jersey, flying down I-95 towards Philadelphia. The driver made a bathroom stop near the city, followed by a scheduled roadside stop at the Cherry Hill Mall. Then we were crossing the Ben Franklin Bridge into the city of brotherly love. I'd be spending the next day here visiting SEPTA's Accessible Transit Center and riding regional rail for a future video before taking Greyhound back to Pittsburgh.
And with that, I'm here in Philly with Jared.
Oh,
Long time no see.
yeah, been a while, I
Been a while
think.
since you've been on Classy Whale.
Yeah, I'm a recurring guest, but recurring only ever so often, so.
So cut to me in my apartment comparing the buses I just rode.
Overall, the further into this trip I got, the worse the buses became. So to rank them, we'll just go in reverse chronological order. Wanda Coach is just really bad. I have never said this before about any transit operator, but do not ever ride them. The boarding system was confusing, the driver was late, the bus was dirty and smelly, the bathroom was unusable, and to top it off, they're not the cheapest bus on this route. Megabus and Flixbus regularly undercut them on this service. I struggle to understand why anyone would ride this. I strongly encourage you to never get on one of their buses, and they go firmly in 4th place. If you don't believe me, read the Google reviews. No, you know what? They don't even get a place. They get dumpster fire. That's it. Next up is OurBus. I'll admit they have a good thing going with their model, filling in the gaps left by other bus companies. There aren't that many buses that go from New York to Quincy after all. And this bus was cheap. At $20, it was $30 less than what I paid on Lucky Star in the opposite direction. But that said, the numerous stops on the route added to the travel time, and it wasn't great that the driver never told us when or where stops would be. And when your company outsources all of their bus operations to third parties, you end up with a wide variety of buses and drivers operating the routes, so it's hard to guarantee quality. My luck definitely ran out when it came to the bus's bathroom. I've heard of people taking OurBus who had better equipment than I did, but I would imagine it could get worse too. Regardless, I'm going to make sure I use the bathroom right before I get on another one. 3rd place. Lucky Star is difficult to compare with the rest of these buses, since it only operates one route. The fare was decent, the bus was nice, I appreciated our relatively quick non-stop route, and having an actual waiting area was a plus. I do have a few nitpicks. The waiting area was a bit dirty and our driver didn't really communicate with us at all, but these are pretty minor trade-offs for a solid experience. 2nd place. That leaves Megabus as my #1 pick for budget bus travel in the Northeast. I've been riding their overnight service between Pittsburgh and New York over the past few months, and when I move to Philadelphia next year, I'll be taking them up and down I-95 on the regular. Their buses have consistently been clean. They're usually empty enough that I can get 2 seats to myself. Drivers have been friendly, and buses have been on time. And you can't go wrong with the occasional $1 fares. If I could fault them for one thing besides our driver's loquaciousness,
You are not the only person on this vehicle.
it would be drastically scaling back their bus network in the last few years. A few years ago, you could take Megabus from Philadelphia to Toronto for $30, and now you can't even take them to Boston. But overall, if you're traveling anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic and you're on a tight budget, any of these bus companies will get you where you're going without too much trouble. Just do not, under any circumstances, ever ride Wanda Coach. So, are there other bus companies you'd like to see me review? Are you sick of buses and just want to see more trains? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you. Take care.